Wrestling is a tough business, and Great North Wrestling is the land of the tough guys, Canada's home of strong style wrestling. The Great North Wrestling Podcast is the official podcast of Canada's most popular wrestling YouTube channel, The Hannibal TV, hosted by two-time Canadian champion and former national champion in freestyle wrestling, Olympic trials silver medalist in Greco-Roman wrestling. Trained in the Hart family dungeon, he has over 15 years experience in the wrestling business as a wrestler and working behind the scenes in numerous companies. Hannibal the Death Dealer, aka the Hannibal TV, lead reporter Devin Nicholson.
This is Hannibal from The Hannibal TV, and on the line I have two-time AWA champion, and he's actually still the reigning AWA champion. He's a former WCW Tag Team Champion, WCW TV Champion, NWA Western States Champion, and all sorts of titles all over the world. And he's most famous for his feud with his mentor, Bruno Sammartino, WWE Hall of Famer, and that feud culminated in the showdown at Shea Stadium, which drew 36,295 fans to Shea Stadium. He is a WWE Hall of Famer himself, the living legend, Larry Zbyszko from Orlando, Florida.
Well, thank you, Devon. That was a very good introduction. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Well, you were one of my favorites. I was a big AWA fan as well as WCW fan. So it's a pleasure to talk to you. We did a shoot interview with you back in January that can be seen on my The Hannibal TV YouTube channel. And it had very positive feedback. So we're happy you agreed to speak with us over the phone. So what have you been up to lately?
Positive feedback, huh?
Yes, other than
That's
from
good
one
to
person. One person had negative feedback, and it was someone you actually talked about in the podcast. I don't know if you want to guess who that may have been.
Oh, God, who knows? I don't remember.
It was Missy Hyatt.
Missy!
She claimed you were a nice guy, but she thought I had something against her. For posting the video where you claimed you dated her, and she said you're a nice guy, but that's a figment of your imagination, according to her.
Okay. Well, one thing I do, Devin, I realize something about women. I don't even waste time arguing with them. Just tell her we'll always have Six Flags in the limelight. I tell you, when she was 18, she was hottie.
Oh, I've seen pictures from those days, and I don't think you're the only one that found her attractive because...
No, I don't believe so either.
But there you go, Missy. If you're listening to this, I did bring your message up to Larry, so please don't hold anything against me.
Okay. I'll never forget the limelight.
And you live in Orlando, and you mentioned during our shoot interview that you were going to take part in WrestleMania weekend at the Fan Access. How did you find WrestleMania weekend?
Oh, yeah. No, I had a great time. I did some Access signings. So, I got to meet the fans and, have a good time. And it was actually kind of weird this year because it was 12 miles down the road from my house.
That's convenient.
And they were nice enough to get me a room anyway.
Oh, that's even better.
I hung out there. And, one day zipped home for a little bit and then went back and had a great time. So it was fun, and I'm looking forward to next year. I love going there.
Did you get to see any of the show itself?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was watching most of it from the after party place. I had a couple big TV sets. Me and Dad in Dallas and some other guys were there. I didn't go to I was doing some late stuff, and I didn't make it to the arena part, but I watched it on the big tube in the after-party room.
Is there any match that stood out to you as one of your favorites of the evening?
Oh, God, don't ask me. I've been watching so much wrestling lately. If I close my eyes, I just see bodies flying through the air. I can't remember whose body it is.
Well, there was one I didn't actually I didn't actually see it, but I did watch online the Undertaker's match, which I guess was his last match. Do you have any thoughts on the Undertaker's
Oh,
retirement?
well, I mean, it's just amazing. But with everybody, the hands of time catch up with you, and it's time for a new era. So you're seeing the stars of one era fading away, just like it always happens in the cycle. And you're going to have a bunch of new guys coming up, and I'm real excited about it because I see some guys that people haven't seen yet. But I think that it's going to be a great new era. There's going to be some surprises. Good
Yeah, you
talent.
mentioned in the shoot interview that there was one particular wrestler that would be debuting sometime after WrestleMania that you had been working with, and I had a lot of people actually ask about if I knew anything about who this wrestler was. Has this guy made his debut yet, or is he still in the bullpen?
He's starting. He's starting up. I'll say that. I don't want to say too much because you never know. But he's starting up. So I'm
Okay.
getting excited.
And the other question I guess a lot of people felt I missed in that interview was you were obviously Vern Gagne's son-in-law for a while there. Do you know anything about that story of him accidentally killing somebody, or maybe it was on
Oh
purpose?
well, I know the whole story. It's ridiculous.
Can you
Uh,
share it?
here's the here's the story with Vern. So make a long story short. I still got a house in Minnesota, but Vern was in the basement for a while, and Kathy was watching him. But then he got the Alzheimer's so bad, so I mean, he didn't really know where he was, and he couldn't move, and they put a pacemaker in him, and then they regretted it because they just kind of left the brainless body alive. So they got him in a rest home where he could be taken care of, all the time because he was to the point, Kevin, where sounds funny, but it ain't, where, at 4 or 5 in the morning, you hear a noise and you wake up and the door would be open up in Minnesota where it's 20 below zero and the door's open, wind's blowing. Vern got out and he's walking down the neighborhood naked and has no idea where he is. He
Okay.
could freeze to death or die out there. So it was time to put him in a home, you know. So then here's the guy now. Keep in mind, he needs help getting out of a chair.
Right.
Okay. So there's a guy walking past Vern's room one day who's in like 98 or some ridiculous age, and he's got a walker, and he falls down and lands on his walker and breaks one of his bones in his frail little body.
Right.
And this happens right in front of Vern's room. And someone who worked there, like it was like for a joke or a rib or something, said, "Hey, Vergne Gagne just put the guy in the sleeper and killed him in front of his room," because he was such a famous guy there. And it was like a rib that wound up on the news and spread like wildfire. Family getting calls, "Hey, Vern killed the guy." And the story is the guy was after he broke his leg, they removed him from the home and put him in a hospital for a few months, fixed his leg, and then the guy was released from the hospital, and died 6, 7 months later of old age,
Right.
So it had nothing to do with Vern. Vern couldn't get off the chair, but it was a joke texted or sent that was picked up and then blown out of proportion by, how do they call it, the fake news nowadays?
Yeah.
To where Vern, there was a picture in one of the newspapers of like Vern drop kicking some old guy in a walker. He couldn't get out of it. He can't get out of a chair.
All right. So it wasn't
So
him like getting mad at the guy and throwing a submission hold on or something like that.
yeah, I mean, and the guy's family knew nothing happened. The ridiculous point was we wound up putting him in someone else's basement under a different circumstance because the old people's homes were afraid to keep him. They thought he was dangerous.
Okay.
So it was a pain in the ass, and the poor guy didn't even know he was there to begin with.
Well, I'm glad you cleared that up. And I got to ask you, my favorite part of there's two favorite parts to me of that Wrestle Rock Rumble song that you guys did. Yours, I think you by far had the best, but the funniest was Vern's. What did you think about Vern's part of the rap?
You know what? I don't remember Vern's part of the rap. To be honest with you, I mean, if I think about it, I can imagine it because he would have no idea. But
Do you still remember
yeah,
your
I don't
line?
remember. Something about Scott Ledoux.
Yeah, and then you let out the.
I get something. Yeah, I can't remember exactly. Something about Scott Ledoux.
Yeah, in recent years, since YouTube has come out, that thing has become a cult hit. I I think if you had had a rap song at
Oh yeah.
that time, it would probably be a #1 single right
Yeah.
now.
You know what? I've got a song I made in 1980 where actually, oh God, the critics, I kind of rapped in the middle before anybody else did, called "Boo on Me."
Oh, really? Where could people find that if they
You
want
know
to check
what?
it out?
I've got a copy of it on CD, and then someone made a copy, and I think it's on YouTube. I mean, I made it in 1980, and it's kind of a funny story because in 1980 I made it in the basement, and it came out pretty good for the way we did it. And I sent a copy of it to Vince to see what Vince thought of it, and that was back in 1980.
Right.
Last WrestleMania, not the one that just happened, but last year's, I bumped into Shane McMahon for the first time in like 30 years or so. Since the early 80s.
Yeah.
Last time I saw Shane, he was a little kid.
Right.
So I bumped into him at WrestleMania for the first time since he was a teeny kid. And he's going to introduce myself, and he goes, Larry, he goes, holy shit, I think about you all the time. He goes, boo on me, boo on, and he starts singing boo on me. I freaked out. I said, you've got to be kidding. I didn't even know who the hell I was, let alone, start singing boo on me. And he told me that when he was a kid, he'd be hanging around the office, and Vince had boo on me in his Walkman.
Wow.
And Shane would have the headphones on, dance around the office, and listen to it. So I sent him a copy, and he thought it was cool. Brought back a lot of memories. It freaked me out.
Maybe that's one of the reasons that they finally forgave all of the past issues with you guys in the end, because he was a fan of the song.
Boo on me. I don't know. I don't know if it's on YouTube or not. Someone said, I have it recorded as my ringtone for my phone. I hear some of boo on me.
Well, I'll definitely.
Wonder if I could sell it. Maybe the WWE can sell. Don't they sell iTunes of music?
They do, but you could probably actually. It doesn't take much to sell something on iTunes. I think you could probably sell it for $1.99.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like 50 cents. I don't care.
I'd buy it.
But
I'd buy it for that.
Someone told me that, and I don't know. So I got a copy of it on DVD, and I think it's on the. I think I can send you a copy of it actually, because I got someone sent me an email of it where I can forward it to you.
Oh, that would be great.
I'll try to send you a copy of it, and then you can play it on your thing.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, I think the fans would love that.
Yeah, if the fans love it, we'll put it on iTunes.
Exactly. And we actually had David Penzer working for us WrestleMania weekend, getting interviews at the various fan festivals with legends. And there was only 4 people. He didn't run into you, but there was 4 wrestlers that refused to do interviews with him, or wrestling personalities, I should say. Hulk Hogan was one. He would just take a picture with Penzer, but he wouldn't appear on camera. Honky Tonk Man wouldn't. Greg Valentine wouldn't. And the 4th was Eric Bischoff. And I guess the reason Eric Bischoff wouldn't do the interview with him was because he had a problem with some of the interviews that were posted on my YouTube channel in the past where wrestlers talked about him. Now, he didn't mention you specifically, but you're one of the wrestlers I asked about Eric Bischoff in my interviews. And then Eric Bischoff put out a podcast a few weeks ago, and a fan actually asked him if he could provide his thoughts on Larry Zbyszko. Now, he didn't say anything too bad about you, but it's about a 2-paragraph response that he said.
My fellow pilot buddy.
Yeah, I'll just read it to you just so you could formally respond to it, just so your side could be out there. So the fan asked about you, and he responded, Larry was already in WCW, so I didn't bring him in with me, even though a lot of people think I did. I enjoyed working with him there. It got a little bit difficult towards the end because Larry was at the stage of his career where he wanted to do more, but it really wasn't there for him, in my opinion, and that put me in a tough place because it was a guy that I was friends with. Larry was a pilot before I was, and I'd go up and fly around in Larry's plane just for fun, hanging out. As things progressed later on in the late 90s and Nitro was taking off and WCW was the hottest promotion in the world, Larry's career was already winding down. Larry was pretty much already done in the ring by that time. Because it was so hot and on fire, he had that desire. He wanted back in, so it was a little difficult for me. I have to say, I don't have anything bad to say about Larry. I always enjoyed working with Larry back then. I will say that I hear a lot of things he says now in interviews and events and things I know, and I think Larry is living in Larryland. I think Larry's memories of things have been colored by his desire to believe things the way he wants to believe them. More so than the way they are, but that's okay. It happens to everybody. It happens to me too. You tend to look back at things and you start believing things the way you want them to be, and it's natural. But I've heard Larry do interviews saying, I got the NWO idea from Larry Zbyszko, and that's silly. That's just childishly silly. But other than that, working with Larry was a blast. So overall, it was positive, but there was a few things in there that
well, maybe people get confused because, well, let me tell you, maybe people get confused because, like Eric said, I was already in WCW, and then we brought him in as an announcer. He came in, and Vergne Gagne came in, and so we had some AWA guys, and then, I don't know, it just worked out that Eric became the executive producer. And that idea at the NWO, it wasn't my idea. But there was an old invasion idea of the AWA, that wanted to come in and invade the NWA back when the Crockett's had it. And it was supposed to start with me and Flair bad-mouthing each other on different cable stations. That's why our doll pack came out with me and Rick in it, even though Rick was in the NWA and I was in the AWA. And it would have been a great idea at the time. But then down the road, that idea did happen. And I don't know, exactly who thought of it. Could have been Eric, could have been Greg, or who knows? Probably both said they both did. But it happened. It was an old, and I didn't think of it, but when I heard what was going on, I'm the one that programmed it in the way it started out. And I was excited about being in it because it did get super hot. And the funny bit is the other person that was super excited and wanted to get in it was Eric.
Right.
And so I said, well, hell yeah. And then so I, did some things on TV, which really made Eric the hottest heel at the time. People were diving over the aprons trying to punch him in the face. I mean, he was great. And that led to the me versus Eric match to save Nitro from the New World Order,
And Scott Hall.
With Scott Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was it. I was getting, one part of it, I was over 40, and I was getting too old to keep going. Plus, I didn't want to keep going. I had a great deal doing the broadcasting. I was over 40 years old. I was in one piece. That's why today I have no artificial parts. I don't need any surgeries. So I didn't want to get back full-time wrestling, but, it was so hot at the beginning, everybody wanted to get in. So that's how, I figured, well, let's work this out. And then me and Eric, that's how we wound up, doing that big match. And then it went great. It was great.
And you did score some huge pay-per-view buy rates working with those guys as well, from what I've read.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Me and Eric were a novelty match, and it was over big time.
And
he did a great.
Sorry, one thing that Scott Hall has actually confirmed that you did come up with was Scott coming out of the crowd rather than out of the entranceway for that Nitro he interrupted.
Yeah, that was one of the things I, reprogrammed. Right. But it was, it wasn't like my idea, and I did it, but I was, involved in the programming of it. But it was an idea that came down from the AWA. Could have been Eric that thought of it. I really don't know, but when it happened, it was great.
So in other words, Eric just may have misunderstood some of the things that you said, and
Yeah, I guess depends who you listen to or how they hear it, or like you do some shows and then they edit them, so you say something, but unless you hear the next show, you don't know what the hell the story is. So by the time it gets back, I'm the one that thought of everything.
Right. But you definitely did your own creative in
yeah, but
WCW,
I did. Yeah,
right?
I was. Yeah, I was involved in the beginning of the programming and stuff, and Eric and Scott and that. But, yeah, it was great stuff. It was great.
And in AWA, I believe you also had some say in some of your own programming as well.
Oh yeah, back in those days, yeah, there was some.
Which company did you prefer between WCW and AWA? I know you made probably by far the most money of your career in WCW, but it seems like you had a lot of fun in AWA, and you're very well remembered from your AWA days.
Yeah, well, you know what? I had a great time in both of them. And it kind of worked out good in terms of the cycle of life. I mean, AWA was a great territory, one of the last of them to hang on there. We tried to get Verne to close it down before he did, but he hung on a couple more years. But it was still on ESPN, nationwide cable, so it was good to be there. And I had a great time and got, good wrestling, publicity out of it for that era. And then when I went to WCW, I wound up reaching a whole nother generation because most guys my age were starting to fade away or too beat up or whatever. But then when I went into the broadcasting in WCW, that was a great time too because, I got to an age where, I don't want to get beat up anymore. I didn't have to. I was lucky. Now I'm getting more publicity than ever because I'm on more shows, the whole show.
Right.
And making a bunch of money. And, it was like kind of like, a great thing and kept the career going longer.
And I guess you drew your biggest crowds in WWE, but because of all the stuff that was happening backstage when you were at your popularity peak there, it probably took some of the fun away from it for you.
Oh, it was a wild time. It was a wild time. I mean, it was a different business. The crowd, between the crowd wanting to kill me and me being young and stupid, and oh my God.
Did you have much dealings with the Rockers when you were in AWA?
Not too much, a little bit. They worked. I remember them working a lot with Rose and Doug Summers.
Yeah, they had a couple really famous matches with them.
Yeah, and I know they worked with them. I remember me and Saito, wrestled the Rockers a couple times, and I was involved a little bit with them, but not a whole bunch. They were more of a tag team, and I liked more being a single most of the time I could,
And you wrestled Saito in Japan, right, on that big show?
Oh,
I guess,
yeah. That was a huge show. 72,000 people. The Tokyo Dome was sold out.
Yeah, I hear that New Japan is actually expanding into the U.S. next year. Do you have any thoughts on how that might work out for them to actually run regular events in the United States?
I don't know. It's getting interesting because I'm not a computer guy or a social media guy, and I'm a WWE guy.
Right.
So when I hear people talk about, so-and-so, a big star in Japan for this group, I've never heard of them before. I have no idea who they are. Japan, which is the size of California and 3/4 of its mountains, you can't even live on them. It's got like 100 wrestling promotions I hear of. I don't know how.
Yeah, and some of them are ridiculous.
Yeah, so I really don't know anything about them. So I don't hear them, unless one of them shows up at the Performance Center or NXT or something. This is so-and-so. He's a big star in Japan. Good for him. Who?
Yeah, I don't call it wrestling when it's a wrestler wrestling a child in some of these companies, or sometimes they're using these light tubes, like the whole ring is filled with light tubes, and that's just ridiculous. But the thing about your question, though, it's competition. If there's another group of a big Japanese company, coming here for TV, now you're competing, kind of in the territory like I would consider the WWE territory, Right.
And what that's going to do, maybe it'll spark more interest in wrestling. It'll definitely give opportunities to more American guys. If they just bring over Japanese guys, no one knows who they are. But it may, so it may give more opportunity for more guys to be wrestlers. You never know.
Yeah, I would assume that they're going to hire more Americans if they start to come here, because really there hasn't been too many Japanese wrestlers that have really been over in the United States, to my knowledge, to any large degree. Even in WWE, they're trying to push Nakamura, I guess. But
and it's good because they got their network in Japan, so they want Japanese stars, so that makes sense, and that's great. But a lot of I hear about a lot of these guys that, there's just so many of them, I can't keep track of them.
And their names are difficult to pronounce, which makes them difficult to remember.
Yeah.
But I guess they have two shows in July in the Los Angeles area, and they sold out almost immediately, so I guess that's part of what's sparking them wanting to tour regularly here.
Yeah, you never know. It could be interesting. I don't know. I just go with the flow, brother. But, I'm a master of programming. So when I see something happen, I know what to do with it. So we'll see what happens.
And I don't know if you've heard, but Harley Race fell last week and broke both of his legs. And I guess, I don't know why he required blood transfusions. I guess maybe just because he's not the healthiest, but out of that he required 4 blood transfusions. So I know you worked with him a few times. What are your thoughts on that and Harley?
Well, I feel bad for anybody that that suffers and winds up like that. The poor guy's in a wheelchair and getting up there. To be honest with you, Devin, I have no plans. I am not here to suffer. There's no such thing as death anyway. And I'm not going anywhere right away because I feel great. Don't need don't need anything. Actually, I feel like I'm 30. I could work out today.
Well, and you're moving around very well. Like, obviously, I've been running a company here for about 15 years now, and I've been involved with a lot of wrestling legends over the years, and you're one of the few that is walking around normally that I've met at your current age. Most of them are limping, so it was nice to see that you were so healthy when I met you in person earlier this year.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I feel great, and so I think I'm just going to maybe go along, but I'm not here to suffer. So I think maybe another 10 years, I'm just going to, go to bed and do what my grandparents did. Just not get up. I'm just going to be gone, and then you can throw my body in the garbage because I'm done with it.
Well, I hope it's more than 10 years because, as you told me, I think the wrestling world needs your wisdom around still for a while, and it's good that you're at least having some say over at the Performance Center here and there because I guess they need opinions like yours.
Know what? Yeah, they do. It's a great setup. It really is a top-notch setup, and they do. They have a great respect for tradition, and they listen. They'll listen to me. They'll listen to Terry. Shawn Michaels is in there now. So it's a great place, and it's going to be turning out a neat generation that I think is going to freak people out. I'm getting excited about it.
And speaking of the next generation, Jinder Mahal, he actually wrestled with me in Stampede Wrestling, and he also wrestled for this company, Great North Wrestling, for numerous years, and he's the 50th WWE Champion. So we're all very happy for him here. But I'm just wondering what your opinion is of his, I guess, shocking WWE Championship win over Randy Orton recently.
Well, you know what? To be honest, I watch Raw every Monday at Terry's. It's been like tradition, so I know what's going on. Sometimes I miss the SmackDown, but I think it's recording now, and I'll go through it. I heard about Jinder, and if it's shocking, then I think it's great. He was the guy that had the red hat before, right? A couple of years ago, didn't he have a red hat in the past?
To be honest, I haven't watched it until I found out that he won. So I watched the coronation ceremony, and I went and watched the match where he beat. He was actually, I guess, a lower card guy doing enhancement a lot for numerous years. Then they released him. Then he came back. He was doing more enhancement, and then suddenly they've started to give him a push, and then people were shocked because usually they build someone up a little more before they give him the title, but they switched him very quick to an upper card wrestler. But he's getting a lot of heat from what I understand, which I guess is a good thing in this day and age.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it shocks people and if it gets heat, I mean, he should be a good heat seeker. It looks like he's going to blow up your house. Should work out, so I think that's, the fans love that. That they're a different crowd than when I started, but people want to be swerved and they don't want to know what's going on, so.
And when you were in WCW, it's actually the 10th year anniversary of the Chris Benoit incidents this year, so I've been asking people their thoughts on that whole situation. And I was just wondering, when you were in WCW, if you ever saw anything from him that would lead you to believe that the guy was a little off, or were you just totally shocked when you heard the news about that tragedy where he killed his wife and son, who I guess you probably also knew his wife?
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, no, I knew them both. I didn't know Chris a whole bunch. I was doing the broadcasting and kind of moved up to legend status when the new guys, Chris and Jericho and Eddie Guerrero and other guys were, coming in. So I really didn't hang out with the boys, the young guys, and I did my one day a week and went home. They were all on the road. But just a few times I met him, just a quiet guy. I mean, I was totally shocked. Just totally shocked. Yeah, that was a total shocker there.
And recently there was some controversy in the WWE over, I guess, Mauro Ranallo leaving the company because of some alleged issue with JBL. I won't necessarily ask you about that issue, but I'm just wondering, as a commentator yourself, what you thought of Mauro as a commentator. I know you said you didn't watch SmackDown that much, but...
yeah, you know what? To be honest with you, I'm not sure. Was this a Spanish guy?
No, he's actually he's from Canada. He started off as a Stampede Wrestling commentator. Then he went into MMA commentary, which I think he still does. Okay. Then about a couple years ago, WWE picked him up, but I guess he's bipolar or something. So there was some mental health issues, and apparently he wasn't getting along with JBL.
Oh, yeah. See, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know. I mean,
But you don't remember him as a commentator anyway, so that was more what I was curious about. Just, do you have any favorite commentators now besides Jim Ross? I guess I'm sure he's probably one of the top ones on your list.
He was a classic.
Have you heard Jim Ross's impression of you? I have to ask you that.
No, he's got an impression of me?
Yes, and it's pretty good, I have to say.
Oh, God.
If you see him again, you're going to have to ask him to do it.
Okay, I will. I'll see him soon. I'll see him somewhere.
And I don't know. I know you don't follow other wrestling companies really, but you used to be in TNA, and since I last talked to you, I guess Dixie's finally out. I guess this Billy Corgan guy's gone now. He's apparently bought the NWA, which I don't know how much value is in that, but Jeff Jarrett has taken back over TNA, so I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Well, you know what? The TV, I don't even know if I didn't even know the TNA was still on the air, and I heard something recently just about the fact, something about like Dixie's now gone, but Jeff and Dutch are back. So, but to be honest with you, I don't really know anything about it. I thought it went out of business for a while. I thought it disappeared, and then it was on some other station that I don't even know if I get, to be honest with you, because I don't watch it. And then I heard all of a sudden that Jeff and Dutch are back. Okay. but that's all I know. I really don't know anything about it.
Right, yeah, we don't get it here in Canada either unless you have a specialty channel called the Fight Network, so I don't know much about it either, but I guess Jeff and Dutch would have been working there when you were there before, right?
Yeah, they were there when I was there years ago, and cracked me up because it was like Dixie's up, but then the same crew that was at the beginning is back there now.
That was sort of my thoughts too. Like I wish them the best, but they didn't succeed the first time. So why would it be any different now?
Yeah.
And
You got me, brother. I don't know. It takes enough of my energy to watch the WWE stuff and deal with the guys I'm dealing with here that when I'm done with it, I don't want to watch any more wrestling.
and I guess your son was wrestling for a while. Did he? What happened with his wrestling career? Someone wanted me to ask you that.
He wised up, thank God. But he's doing good. He got himself a job with a good company, and he's doing good. And I think he's still doing maybe a show here and there on the weekend. I told him, don't even think about it if you're not getting paid. You know.
Yeah, because there isn't much money out there. A lot of people don't understand it. On the independent scene, you're lucky if you get $50 a night. And a lot of the times, the promoters will rip you off. So everyone talks about this thriving independent scene out there, but it's not full-time work for very few people unless you have a WWE name, and you're not making millions of dollars.
No, it's not. So, but I mean, Tim could have been good. I mean, if he was bigger and he started earlier, but he decided, let me give this a shot. He was already 30, was he 34, 35? Damn, kids are getting old. They're going to be older than me pretty soon.
Did you hear about, since you work with the company, the WWE, it's almost 100% confirmed that they're going to be starting up a specific television show for the United Kingdom now? For their network?
I think I heard that. Isn't that why they got that one show of the...
Yeah, they did the championship show, but now I guess they're planning on doing tapings there once or twice a month and having like a weekly show for the United Kingdom. So
yeah, but they could. In fact, I think that from what I heard, the NXT guys are in England or around London this week at some rock concert, 24-hour thing, and there's matches going on.
Yeah, and I guess, I don't know if you heard this, but there was supposed to be one NXT event at that arena in Manchester where the shootings happened. So unfortunately, they ended up canceling that event out of respect for the victims. But that's an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, but they're over there now. So, the WWE's going global.
Yeah, and as I guess one of the reasons that they chose Jinder Mahal to be champion is because they want to get into India too and make a big splash there. So they're really expanding.
Yeah.
And
it was funny. I asked Arn one time. I said, "Did you guys ever go to Russia? Because I didn't know if they ever ran shows in Russia."
Yeah.
And Arn said, "Yeah, we did." And I thought, I said, I would have thought that it would have been, great business, right?
Yeah.
But from what Arn said, the Russians hated him.
Yeah, because amateur wrestling is huge there.
Yeah, so I guess the idea of the pro wrestling wasn't a big hit with the Russians.
Speaking of Arn, one of the comments I had out of that interview, the shoot interview I did with you, was could you expand any more or have any more stories about your time with the Dangerous Alliance? Because I guess you have a lot of fans of yours from that era when you were with the Dangerous Alliance and Paul Heyman and Steve Austin.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting that people talk about it, because I don't remember the Dangerous Alliance lasting all that long. Me and Arn were doing a tag thing. And it was working out good because, then I was getting like 40 years old and called the Enforcers. And I wasn't much of a tag guy, but when it came to Arn, for some reason, me and Arn clicked. When we walked out in front of a crowd, the place popped. I mean, you could feel it. It felt like it was in the 70s, you know.
Yeah.
It was, what, maybe 1970 or 89. But it felt like, I mean, it was that, you could feel it. It was great. And then, to me, it kind of ended too quick. I mean, I pulled out some classic stuff with Kazmaier and breaking Barry Windham's arm. But it was over good, and it got over, and me and Arn clicked, and it was great doing stuff with him. But then they kind of changed a bit, and all of a sudden it went to this group, the Dangerous Line. And I wasn't big on being in a group. I like being a single guy. Tagging with Arn was cool, but I wasn't big on the group. But it turned out to be a classic group with Rick Rude in there and then Steve Austin. It was cool because, I knew Steve when he came in, Stunning Steve and this and that. And then all of a sudden, the next thing I know, Steve disappears. And all of a sudden, boom, Steve Austin. He did awesome.
Oh, definitely.
Steve did great. It was like I went, oh my God, Stunning. I was proud of him. I was, man, he was great. Him and then the other one from the AWA, Sean. Sean was the quiet one of the rockers. Jannetty was like
he's still a partier. We saw him plastered twice
Sean
on WrestleMania weekend.
Sean was the quiet guy, and then all of a sudden, boom, Sean got great. I mean, he get in the ring and put on a match that was great. I mean, proud of him too. You see some of these guys, and I think back, and I go, oh yeah, and all of a sudden, boom, to see what they wound up doing. A couple great guys.
And you just mentioned Bill Kazmaier. I've heard some horror stories about some guys that worked with him when he was in Stampede Wrestling, so I was wondering, how was he in the ring with you?
Well, I don't remember that much because it wasn't that long. I think me and Arn hit him with a 45-pound weight or something. But, I mean, the way I was in the ring, but
you tried to probably stay out of the ring as much as possible.
It was good, yeah.
And how was...
To be honest with you, I don't remember too much.
Yeah, it all kinds of probably blends in with all the matches you've had in your career.
Yeah, with everything I've had, I mean, little things like I remember Kazmaier and doing some stuff, but not everything.
Do you remember much about Rick Rude, who was just inducted into the Hall of Fame this year? He was.
I used to golf with Rick. He used to live like a half a mile from me in Georgia when we were doing WCW. So he'd go golf with me, him, Sting, and I think one of Sting's buddies, and sometimes Lex Luger. Lex was funny because he was so muscle bound, he was horrible golfing, but every time he golfed, he had a new bag of clubs with different clubs because it couldn't possibly be him.
Right.
Funny bit. But Rick was, it was funny too. One time he had a birthday party for his kid. Oh, he was freaking out. He had a whole backyard set up with, blow-up things and tents, and Batman was on his way. Batman was going to be at the party. And out of nowhere, this big thunderstorm pops up and comes barreling through, and the tents and the blow-up things are flying out of the yard. Rain's coming sideways. All the kids are in the house, and Rick's on the phone cussing out Batman because he's lost in the storm somewhere and ain't showing up. And I bumped into Rick Rude's kid at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that story because it was his birthday. He remembers it. The big white type of guy.
And you worked with Dusty Rhodes in commentary a few times in WCW. What was he like to work with on commentary?
Oh, Dusty was fun. He was a nice. I mean, it was fun. When I got into the broadcasting gig, and again, I was over 40 in the body. I got a couple of knee scopes already, and so and the business was changing too. So it was time. And but Dusty was fun because he had the way of talking, so it was easier to mess with him. He'd go, "We just feel that to do a new clubber," and all I'd have to say is, "What?" And the crowd would pop because you know what the hell he's talking about.
Was he the booker when you were in Crockett Promotions?
Yeah, he always seemed to be the booker somewhere. But yeah, he was the booker at Crockett's, and at one time Ole was the booker, and then Dusty, and Dusty was usually in there.
How did you get along with
He was
Ole?
looking. Oh, I got along great with Ole. He loved me because I was Polish. So I was a fellow Polak.
Oh, okay.
Because Ole was Polish, so. Now, Ole was a good guy. He loved me. And I got along good with all the bookers, and because I knew what I was doing, and I got heat. Dusty paid me a big compliment one time because it was funny. I'll tell you a funny story. I was doing something down south for the Crockett's, and I saw the Stone Mountain thing in Georgia, and they have a carving of Stonewall Jackson and Robert E. Lee and the Confederate,
Yeah.
So I go on TBS in the NWA in the 70s, and I'm doing this promo where I'm talking about Tommy Rich is going to wind up, carved into Stone Mountain next to the rest of the all-time great American losers. So I'm knocking the South, and it pisses off the Crockett's. They're talking about getting rid of me because I pissed them off with my interview.
Oh, it was that offensive.
Which was the point. That was my job. But Dusty was the one that said, "Oh my God, this Zbyszko's great. People want to kill him, and he just stands there."
What was the closest you came to death, by the way, now that you mention it? You've been in so many situations with fans that have almost killed you.
You know what? Probably the time the guy shot at me was the closest to death. I got stabbed in the ass. If it would have stabbed me higher in the kidney, could have been problems. But there was some interesting moments. I mean, you walk out and all of a sudden you hear this big boom, and the bricks above your head, you can feel them shatter into your head, these little pieces.
Yeah, it's funny now. Sometimes they talk about bullying in wrestling, but in your day, you guys actually had to worry about being stabbed and killed by fans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a different setup, too. There was no barriers. In the chair, the ringside seats were right by the ring. There was no barriers or rails or,
And was it in Jim Crockett's promotions where you wrestled Wahoo McDaniel?
You know what? I remember wrestling. I may have a little bit, but I do remember wrestling Wahoo in the AWA.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he was getting... And Wahoo was getting up there, in the AWA days.
Yeah.
And I felt so sorry for him because I'm doing a match with the guy, and during the match, one of his teeth come out, spits it out, and as I'm wrestling him, this hair stuff that the guys that were going bald used to put on their heads to darken it was starting to sweat and run, so there are these black lines running down his face. He can hardly breathe. His tooth comes out, and you can see it. His lip spits it out. I said, "My God, he's crumbling before my very eyes here."
He's the last person I would have expected to care if he was going bald or not.
Oh, God, he was a classic. I think he married the same woman twice, wiped him out twice.
Yeah, I heard he didn't really care about cheating on his wife, and he was, if the wife had a problem with it or caught him, he would just basically be like, "Oh well."
I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know what his deal was. Some guys I would, say, "Hey, how you doing?" But I'd stay away from him. I didn't want to get involved. Some of them were nuts.
And we interviewed Billy Graham last week on this podcast. Did you ever have the chance to work with him in the ring?
Oh, yeah. I worked with Billy Graham a little bit back, when he probably first came in around New York.
When you would have been just starting as Bruno's protege, I guess?
Yeah, I was kind of there a little bit as Bruno's protege getting going. And I remember working with, Billy in some places, Long Island.
Do you think he would have made... Sorry, do you think he would have made a good baby face? You could finish what you were going to say, but after just answer that. I
don't know. I mean, he probably could have gone either way.
Yeah, because towards the end, when they switched it to Backlund, the crowd was kind of half cheering for him, but half truly hating him.
Yeah, I mean, he could have went either way. Bruno was just so over, at that time. But Billy was a classic, and we tried to show some of the new wrestlers some Billy Graham stuff because Billy's movement was great. I mean, the way he moved and bounced off the ropes and arms would flail, and I mean, he was good. He was good to watch.
What do you think of Backlund's current role in WWE? I understand they've put him with the wrestler that's kind of apparently he's doing the angle where he's the coach of the wrestler that publicly came out being gay or something.
Oh, wait a minute. Is this the Make Daryl Young Great thing?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? When we were watching, I was watching Bob, and that it was like on. I saw it for like a few months, and then I haven't seen it for a long time. It's been gone.
Okay, yeah. Apparently,
I don't know what's going on, but I just don't remember seeing it lately.
What I heard was that it was having some issues getting over, I guess. I haven't actually seen it myself, so I couldn't tell you. But the rumor on the internet is the guy he was managing might be on the chopping block soon, I guess. But I guess they're both still currently employed.
So, I don't know. All I know is, they disappeared from TV. I don't remember seeing them on lately.
Because at one point, you were trying to convince WWE to maybe do a quick switch of the title after the Bruno thing with you and Backlund because you had so much heat. And that probably would have been a fantastic feud, but unfortunately, it didn't work out that way.
It would have been good, and I tried to get the belt, I mean, in those days, there was no contracts, and so, and you had to kind of, fight for yourself, too, because everybody was fighting for themselves, and it was a different business, But then they respected you for it, too. If you didn't fight for yourself, then they crap on you.
And you were around when Freddie Blassie, the Wizard, and Lou Albano were the three main WWE managers, and I was just wondering, in your opinion, which was the best of the three?
Well, you know what? They were all good because they were all different. I mean, Lou was crazy, and you could tell it by the way he moved. Freddie was the classic bleached blonde, shiny, ex-know-it-all, and the Grand Wizard, he had his own unique look, and those guys were great in those days because when Albano would bring a big guy in for Bruno to wrestle, when Bruno would beat him, then the Grand Wizard would have a guy that he found in Japan, and here's Professor Tanaka, and then when Bruno beat him, then, Freddie Blassie would have a guy he found, so they would always rotate big, opponents for Bruno.
And you were tag team.
It worked out good.
Yeah, they were all, I thought they were all great too. And you were also tag team partners with Tony Garea for a while in the WWE. Now I think he still works as an agent for the company. I'm just wondering what your thoughts were on that tag team and if you still talk to him at all.
Tony Schiavone?
No, Tony Garea, yeah.
Once in a blue moon, I haven't talked to Tony, got probably in a good couple years or more. Once in a blue moon. He had a place in Connecticut, but I think he might have sold it. And then he had a place here in Cocoa Beach, but I don't know when he comes up and back.
Right, because I guess you guys held the tag team titles, right? At one point you were tag team champions, yeah.
That was a funny story because me and Tony, boys, we're in the dressing room. Gorilla Monsoon comes in. That was back in the days of the 2-week notice.
Yeah.
And me and Tony are getting dressed, and Gorilla comes in and says, oh, hey, I forgot to tell you last week, but you guys got your 2-week notice. me and Tony look at each other like, oh, so it means like, well, we're not booked in a week after this, and we're gone, right? Anyway, 2 days later at the TV taping, we wind up getting the belts.
That's amazing. That's the way wrestling works sometimes.
So much for that notice, yeah. So that was the story on that.
And you just brought up Tony Schiavone's name. Oh yeah, lumberjack tag team match. That's where you won it.
Yeah.
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 Tony Schiavone, he has a podcast now that is pretty popular. You have any memories of working with him?
Oh, Schiavone?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the broadcasting. We used to do a bunch of the shows for the syndicated markets, and then the Nitro stuff, of course. Tony was great to work with. I'm taking a swig of Pepsi. Wait a minute.
Oh, that's fine. Just a couple more questions. One, I was doing some.
Tony was great, and it was funny because we used to have a private joke going on in the production room when we do the shows that were already pre-taped.
Yeah.
And me and Tony would go in and do a voiceover, and we never saw any of the matches. The only guy that saw the matches was the editor, so he wasn't allowed to play. But what we do is me, Tony, and a couple other guys, I would look at the card and see who's on it, and I would set the over-under on how many clotheslines we'd see during the show. And if the Public Enemy and the Nasty Boys were on, it would be like, all right, I'll set the over at 36. I mean, it was some ridiculous number of clotheslines.
Yeah.
It was the time, when everybody was just clotheslining everybody. Kind of like today. So I would be there, and we'd be doing the broadcasting, and we'd go, oh, boom, oh, what a clothesline. And I'd yell, we hit the over. So we used to bet on the over-under of clotheslines per show.
Wow.
That was funny.
How did you do in those bets?
Oh, I did pretty good.
Which
actually, now that we're talking about it, I'm wondering if we can start that today. What's the over-under on clotheslines you're going to see tonight?
I guess probably Van Hammer would have been one of the big guys that would have probably had the most of the time.
I guess, yeah, but when the Public Enemy, would wrestle like the Nasty Boys, that was 20 clotheslines right there. Plus, ducking a clothesline counts as a clothesline.
Oh, I see. Because even though it was a miss, it was still a clothesline thrown.
It's still a clothesline.
And I noticed in some pictures from your past days when you were younger, you used to have huge traps. Was there any specific exercise you did to build your traps?
The traps? Well, there was. And Bruno used to do this. I did Bruno's workout where we would do heavy chest. And then when we were done with the chest, we did the traps. And what we did with the traps was we would get behind the bench and use the bar that was on the bench, that would have a couple 45s on each end or whatever it was. And we would grab it in the middle of the bar so your hands were close together and then pull it up along our bodies until our hands came up to our chin, and then let it go back down close to your body. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, almost like an upright row, but with much heavier weight, it sounds like.
Yeah, heavy weight, and then our hands close together, and you pull it up so it's right along your body, so your traps are the muscles, that get worked.
Yeah.
And that's what built big traps. Bruno had them, and I did the same thing, so my traps, popped out.
How many times a week would you do that?
Every other day, brother.
So you guys didn't do necessarily one body part a day. You would do everything within a day or two.
He wasn't into body parts. It wasn't a bodybuilder. He wasn't into the power to get that wrestler. So we do the same workout every other day. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And Saturday, usually a show somewhere.
So probably squats and...
No, never did squats.
Oh,
we'd run. After the workout, we'd run up and down the hills in Pittsburgh.
So you guys had your legs that big just from running?
Yeah, I guess.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, but but heavy chest work, the pull-up traps, and then heavy biceps.
And how is Bruno? How is Bruno doing these days? Because I assume
he's doing good.
Yeah.
He's still doing good. He'll say, he'll be slowing down a little bit, but he's still walking good and should outlive me probably.
Yeah. All right. Well, to wrap things up, I know you're working at the Performance Center now, here and there. What
I'm not
advice?
really, well, kind of, and I'm not really working there,
You're
but
not
I'm
a
doing
coach, but
something.
you're like a
Yeah,
specialty coach that just comes in every now and again, and I guess you're under Legends contract.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's getting exciting. They got some exciting talent. I'm getting excited about the whole thing.
Do you have any other advice that you would give to maybe unsigned talent that are listening to this, or wrestlers in general that just want to become better and stand out in whatever promotion they're working for?
God, you know what? I really don't know what to tell anybody because it is so different. And the way to get, the only thing I can suggest is I would like to see some things change. And I think if someone starting today, if I was starting today after watching all the TVs I did, there would be three things I never do. I would never get involved in ducking, throwing, or doing a clothesline because everybody does it. I wouldn't run across the ring into the corner, into someone's foot, because everybody does it, and I still don't know why everybody runs across the ring. And three, I would never dive over the top rope, someone waiting there to catch me. So if you can do a match without doing any of those, you may be different.
So you would be in agreement with, you probably haven't heard this because you don't follow social media. Randy
No.
Orton recently came out and basically bashed independent wrestlers that do dives and so forth. And
Well, yeah, it's just silly. And they don't even look. I mean, the guy's on the floor, then the other guy's in the ring. He's not looking. He's jumping up and down for some reason for 5 or 10 seconds, not even looking at the guy on the floor. Then he takes off and runs all the way across the ring and runs all the way back, thinking the guy's still going to be there, I guess. I don't know. But, you know, it's everything's, you know, you just want to be different.
And one last question. I've just remembered you had Eddie Gilbert as your manager for a while. How did you find him as a manager, and also what did you think of him as a mind in the wrestling business? Because he's
Oh,
often,
my God.
yeah.
Was Eddie a manager of mine?
It's listed that he was your manager on the internet, but the internet has
You're
been
kidding.
wrong before. Yeah, so maybe you could clear
Holy
the air
cow.
if he wasn't your
No,
manager.
I don't remember, to be honest with you. And then, yeah, I remember Eddie. Eddie was a good kid, and I knew his dad, and I loved Eddie. He was a great guy. And the last I really saw of Eddie was one time I went over to their house. That's when him and Missy were married.
Right.
Yeah, back in Texas. And then I heard he was booking some places or somebody. I never worked for him or anything.
I think he was booking
But
in
then,
Puerto Rico at the time of his death, but for a while he
okay.
was booking for that Global Wrestling Federation that I think
Oh,
was on ESPN after AWA, and maybe a few
okay.
places
Yeah,
in.
see, I really didn't see him much. And, you know, I met him a little bit, and it was dad. And he was a great guy, but I really didn't see him a lot, or that's when he was booking things or whatever. So,
And when I did that
and I heard
other
Doc.
when I did that other interview with you, you went on a little tirade about how you're very much against pornography, and I just wanted to ask you because now,
Tirade.
oh, people actually that one got a lot. I put that one up as a clip by itself, I think, and that one got a lot of hits. But I just wanted to ask you because in recent weeks, I don't know if you've heard, but well, actually, recent months, even the Paige sex tape came out. Then Charlotte Flair naked pictures came out. Then various other
Doc.
divas that I'm not familiar with. Their phones keep getting hacked, and these pictures keep coming out. I don't know why they keep taking these naked pictures of
Yeah.
themselves. But just wondering your opinion on all these phone hackings and all this
Well,
scandalous stuff.
well, I, you know, I don't really have an opinion. I just kind of like have a question I ask myself is these aren't smart I mean, these aren't dumb people, and they know what happens with things that you tape and send through the airwaves and get hacked. So my God, why would you even record anything? Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, I still use a razor phone. That's how primitive I am.
Yeah.
So I don't, tweet or Facebook or Snapchats or FaceTimes or, so, but I don't understand why anybody would do that knowing what the chances are that they'll be out there, There's no secrets anymore. We're getting to the end of a cycle. Actually, in another 65 years, we'll be entering a silver age and leaving this iron age we're in where everything has been so condensed we're stupefied. But the human race is going to start getting much smarter pretty soon.
And Roman Reigns, a lot of people talk about him lately, just that he hasn't, even though he gets pushed to the extreme, I guess he hasn't really got over as a babyface to the extent that people would like him to be. What advice would you give Roman Reigns? Obviously, he's doing well for himself. He's probably a multi-millionaire, but as a wrestler...
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's doing good. And, I really didn't get a chance to know Roman that much. When I started going down to the PC in Full Sail, and I think he was already gone from the PC. I think, Dean was there, Seth a little bit, but they were gone pretty quick. But I really don't know. I don't give anybody advice. He's doing good, and I don't know how the fans. I mean, you're dealing with a different fan nowadays, and it's kind of an interesting thing to me because it's like a game of human chess. And I'm convinced, ever since the me and Eric thing, because Bischoff, even back in the 1996, 97, whenever that was, people had the Dave Meltzer show and everything was stooging off and everybody thought they knew what was going on. But Eric had so much heat on him, people were still diving over the rails trying to punch him out.
Yeah.
So we got him. And I'm still convinced we can get him today. So I can't put my finger on it, but I'm still convinced people will love it more if they don't know what's going on and things aren't predictable. So yeah, I just don't know. I mean, to give advice, I would do some things different, but like I said before, there's some things if I was in the ring I wouldn't do. Everybody runs across the ring to someone's foot, and if you're a good guy, a hero, you look like an idiot.
That's
so,
true.
You really need to say much more.
But these guys are all making a fortune, so I'm definitely not critiquing them. They're doing better in life than me, so I'm no one to say that.
I mean, they're doing good. I mean, I'm just curious because I know how the company is, and I mean, the company is like any other company. I mean, you kind of pride yourself in making the most money you can. How are the ratings doing? I really.
The ratings have, compared to Nitro, they're not even comparable. They were going down post-WrestleMania when Jinder Mahal won the title a few weeks ago. The SmackDown rating went out of its slump. And I heard that the Raw rating from yesterday was a good rating, but it had been going down prior to that. But it seems like it's on a bit of an up this week. So... But in general, if you look at the last 5 years, and actually I hate to agree with Vince Russo on this, and I'm not critiquing WWE, but the fact is pretty much since the 2000s, they've been going down every year consistently. But the company's actually just had its most profitable year because they're expanding and there's so many more monetization platforms. But as far as ratings go, they're not. They're yearly. They've been going down.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, wrestling's always had that kind of cycle. It would be hot, and then it would go down. And then wrestling has a way of all of a sudden something new happens, and then it catches on fire, and then it goes down. The wrestling business was basically pretty stale right before the New World Order, happened. And when the New World Order happened, boom, it got super hot.
Yeah, I
And
remember that actually because just a few years before that, I remember I wore a wrestling shirt in school and I was teased mercilessly. But then only a couple years later, everyone had NWO shirts on. And I
oh yeah,
remember,
they're
yeah.
still wearing them today. And you watch, you watch Raw, you'll see someone in the audience with an NWO shirt. You know, and I think the cycle's kind of doing too, because the guys who are great, Cena and Randy Orton and the Undertaker. I mean, and they were great, and they're still great. But time catches up. Undertaker's gone probably right now. Goldberg's gone.
Oh yeah, what did you think of? I forgot to ask you about that Goldberg's three-match run. I guess the total combined time was under 10 minutes, but if you figure out what he was paid by the minute, it was probably very
Yeah,
impressive.
yeah. Well, I'm sure. Yeah, if you look at it that way, but if you paid him by the minute for how much he was working out over the months before that, But I mean, all I can say is God bless him.
But that wouldn't be a match necessarily that, because you don't like the clotheslines and so forth, that wouldn't be something that you would necessarily pay to see.
Yeah, well, if I remember right, I don't know if it was clotheslines. I remember, didn't Brock like suplex
Oh
him a
yeah, he
few times?
suplexed. I didn't actually see that match, but yeah, he suplexed him a bunch of times at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Mania match. I mean, it was short, but it was really a hard hitting. Boom, boom, Goldberg hit him, boom, boom, and then Brock, boom, boom, 10. I mean, it was a really hard hitting,
There's
match. I thought.
Yeah, and it was nice to see that he actually did spike the ratings when Goldberg came back there. He actually gave the ratings a boost. It's unfortunate now that it doesn't. You see that, as you were mentioning, Cena is retiring probably soon. The Undertaker, maybe not retiring, but Cena might be moving to more of a part-time schedule. A lot of the top
Yeah,
stars.
how long Cena's been? How long has he been around, John?
Uh,
He's got to be.
I'm gonna guess since the early 2000s, maybe
They're getting over
2002.
15 years or so.
Yeah, but
And Randy's great. Hey, John's great. I mean, I'm a big Cena fan. I think he's got the look. He can talk. It's great stuff. But it's again, it's the nature of the beast. The cycle's going. The guys that are going to be leaving soon, and the crowd, I think, is waiting now to see the next wave.
right.
And you're going to get that spike just like it's been in the past, where then it's going to go boom. And to me, I see no reason other than the cycle and things getting ready to change why the ratings shouldn't, should be, what they're doing, 2-1s, 2-2s. The production is so awesome, and there's no competition. I see no reason why they shouldn't be doing, 3-5s, 4s, easy. But they just go, we need some new stuff because the cycle's changing and the stars are changing. And
Because the combined rating used to be a 3-5 each, or sometimes a 4 for one of you, sometimes even a 6 for one of you, and the other would do a 3-5-4.
Yeah, there's no reason they shouldn't be doing it. Production's great, no competition, and but it's just the cycle is this time. But then it will. There's new guys coming. Trust me, I think people are going to freak out.
And John Cena debuted in 2002. I just looked it up.
Oh, okay.
So it's been about 15 years now.
Yeah, so that's about the time when people say, it's like watching your favorite movie. I've watched it 100 times. I love this movie, but isn't there another one?
Yeah.
You know.
All right. So I know you don't have very much social media. You said before if there's a Twitter, it's a fake. And you do have a Facebook that somebody runs for you.
Well, I got a buddy running my Facebook, and I got a Twitter that if I wanted to tweet something, I could tell my guy to tweet it.
Okay.
I never tweet anything because I don't know what the hell's been tweeted, and the whole word sounds stupid to me anyway. You want to tweet? No.
Yeah, I haven't really figured out Twitter
tweeting?
either.
I mean, like, I'm going to punch you in the face, partner, as soon as I tweet.
Do you know the name of your Twitter for anyone listening that wants to check it out?
I don't have I don't have a clue.
Okay. Well, I do know that he is on Facebook, so look him up.
Okay.
Larry Zbyszko. That is his real Facebook for anyone. I think you still do autograph appearances, right? If anyone wants an autograph.
Yeah, I do. Right. Yeah.
So his Facebook person will message you back if you want to book him for something like that. Is there anything else you want to say before we call it a night here? We'd love to have you back maybe later on and at another time as we get this podcast going, because as you said, we like to spread your wisdom and opinion around.
Well, yeah, hey, just give me a call. You got my number. Give me a buzz, and we'll see what happens. I think maybe the next time you call me, you'll be going, Jesus, who the hell is that guy? And then I'm going to say, that's the guy I told you.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. You know, I don't have cable, so I don't even watch the shows fully, but I always keep up with the news, and I'll be looking forward to hearing about the guy of that description. You said he has a different body. He's thicker than normal.
He's got the look. He's got,
yeah.
He makes Brock look normal.
Well, I'll be keeping my eye out for that, and I'm wondering if you could finish this off, since Eric said a few things about you in the podcast. If you could do a wrestling promo, maybe just like a very short wrestling promo on Eric Bischoff, just to finish this off.
Oh, no. Don't have me do that, because then for some reason it'll blow up in my face, and it'll be like on the fake news tweeter where I knocked Bischoff.
I understand. I won't do that to you then.
I thought Eric did a hell of a job from what he, started off as AWA and.
Oh, it's okay. I understand. You're afraid because his martial arts skills are better than yours. You've lost your nunchucks. You don't have the nunchucks to protect you.
Every time you say something on this show, on some blog show, I'm not.
Oh, I understand.
I'm not saying nothing. Anybody.
What about? Well, I'll tell you one person that wouldn't get mad, because I've been friends with him for a long time, is Billy Graham. Could you do like just 20 seconds if you were about to wrestle Billy Graham? What would you say to him?
Oh God, I can't bring myself to go into asshole mode.
Oh, it's okay. You've lost it. It's okay, Larry. I'll let you off.
I'm done.
No, I don't. I'm surprised you there, but it's okay. Thank you very much for coming on. And anyone that wants to follow him, go to Facebook. There's rare posts on there, but his web guy is at least credible if anything is posted on there. And for the last 10 seconds, is there anything you want to say to close this off?
Well, I just hope everybody has a great life, because, brother, it goes by quick, and the world's changing, so hang in there.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much, everyone. This will be on my The Hannibal TV YouTube channel, and you could subscribe to the audio at greatnorthwrestling.podomatic.com. Thank you very much to the still reigning American Wrestling Association heavyweight champion of the world, the living legend himself, Larry Zbyszko.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Great North Wrestling Podcast. Please check out our official website at thehannibaltv.com. For all the latest news and information on GNW, follow us on Twitter at GNW Wrestling, Instagram at GN Wrestling. Subscribe to the Hannibal TV on YouTube for all the latest GNW shoot interviews, match videos, and wrestling promos. And if you like our content, please support us on our The Hannibal TV Patreon page to watch our full shoot interviews, at least 2 weeks prior to them being listed public on YouTube. Our The Hannibal TV Patreon page is only $1.99 per month and is the best way to help us improve production quality and record more shoot interview videos with wrestling legends and MMA stars.